And welcome back to another edition of Rent Money. You got Run It Back Jones here, joined by his trusty old pal, old Chisholm. It's the duo, it's the two of us. We're running it tonight. And we got one of the best sports weeks of the year ahead of us. We have arguably the best slate that we're going to see all season for college football. Ryder Cup's coming up. We both got some MLB wear on as well, as both our teams are in the wild card chase currently. A lot to play for both the Red Sox and the Cubs. This is just going to be a fun episode. We're going to run through it. This one specifically for those who split rent, just like Michael Porter Jr. And we got a great presenting sponsor today as well that we're going to introduce here in a second. Quick run of show for the episode today. We're going to talk about SEC's new scheduling. They're boosting up to 9 games, and they have a couple protected rivalries. In memoriam for one of our favorite quarterbacks up in upstate New York, as well as Mike Gundy, who, after 35, 40 years at Oklahoma State, was fired this past week. So we're going to spend a little time giving him his flowers. We're going to recap last weekend, pick our picks for the upcoming weekend, and talk about the biggest drama college football has seen down in Baton Rouge, the Grove, Ole Miss. You might be knowing what we're talking about, but we'll get to it when that game comes around. Old Chisholm, how you feeling?
We're chaw dogging it today.
Okay.
We went 14 picks last week, right? Split right down the middle. Couple of half points went our way. Couple didn't. That's all right. That's why we keep doing this. It's why we come back. But we're gonna do it with an absolute gagger in today. Know that's what'll get us across the finish line this time, right?
Yeah. Old Chisholm's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. There was a draft tonight for our annual golf outing. Let's say Chisholm didn't feel like he got enough respect that he deserved on the links. So he's coming in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder tonight, which is what we need, what we want out of our Chisholm. Before this train gets on the tracks and can't get off, let me talk about our presenting sponsor for today's episode. I'm talking about Casio watches. Time moves fast. The question is, can you keep up? That's why I wear a Casio. It's not just a watch on the road or running late. On the road or running late for that last-minute meeting, my Casio is bulletproof, shock-resistant, shout out Diesel G-Shock, water-resistant, and yeah, it actually looks pretty good too. We're talking classic design with modern durability. This is the watch you throw on and forget until somebody goes, whoa, hey, is that a Casio? I know I've gotten that before. And here's the best part. Casio isn't trying to drain your wallet. It's affordable, tough, and timeless, literally. So if you want a watch that works as hard as you do, go Casio. Find yours at Casio.com or wherever you get your gear. Casio, tough, timeless, yours. Love my Casio watches. I kind of go for the retro look, but if you're a little bit more tougher and active than myself, you can get the G-Shock. Lots of different options, and yeah, they're not wrong. They're affordable. Paul Thomas Anderson has his first movie coming out this week. Drainage, there will be blood. Drainage, Eli. Drainage. They're not going to drain your wallet. So look for Casio and enjoy what it's like to be on time and punctual and looking good. Woo! Chisholm, you briefly talked about it. 7-7 last week, 14 games. Pretty fun week of football. What was your one thing that you left last weekend with? Oh, okay. That happened.
Notre Dame's defense. I don't want to spend much time on Notre Dame, but still not good. You give up over 20 points to Purdue. Something's wrong, but more so just from my general watching, Raiola looks good. I understand that Nebraska lost that football game, but if you're a Nebraska fan, this has to be the most hopeful still. I mean, even after a close loss that you've been in a while.
How can you be? Let's just start with that game then. There's a few games that we'll hit on. Nebraska lost at home 30-27, 28 straight ranked losses to ranked opponents going back to 2016. You still leave with confidence as a guy that has some affinity and ties to GBR?
I will say I was raised in the shadow of some Husker legends, namely my uncle Greg. But outside of I don't know. I think it can't be worse, right? Than this. You lost and it was a close game, but at the same time, you're competitive, right? You're going up against a team that dog walks you when it comes to overall talent on the roster with a lot of the ratings and stuff like that. But you held your
Yeah.
own, you competed, and they did it in a way that shows me that they're closer than they've ever been. I think it's just continuing to bring back like a black shirt mentality on defense. You can't give up 30 to a true freshman and expect
Yeah.
to just be fine. Like 27 in a really tightly contested ranked matchup, you would think should get the job done. I guess there's been some higher scoring this year than we've seen in years past with some of the clock runoff and stuff, but I don't know. I wouldn't feel as bad about this game as I would have if I were, say, Notre Dame, right? Like both of Notre Dame's losses I thought were tougher pills to swallow than this one, even though, there were tougher opponents, higher stakes, et cetera. I think that's probably part of it. I guess, I don't really know any
Yeah.
Nebraska fans that came into the year and were like, we're going all
I'm
the
gonna
way.
I'm gonna zag though. This is Rule's third year, and this was kind of the game they had circled. Like they have USC later in the season. We'll see if USC is still ranked. Penn State later in the year. Otherwise, it's a very easy schedule for Nebraska comparatively to other Big Ten schools. This was at home, 3:30 against the true freshman Michigan team. 27 straight losses against ranked teams. Like, if not now, when? Like this was the one. They were 2.5-point dogs. And what scared me is I think Raiola played fine. His consistency's concern. I have consistency concerns because you'll see him make the best play in the world, and then you'll also see him miss like the simple on time on target play.
Mm-hmm.
But where I have some concern is in the trenches. Like Nebraska's getting manhandled, and I know we've seen Michigan as a program these last few years do that to teams where Dan Campbell take them out into the water and drown a team. But Nebraska was getting pushed around pretty good on both sides of the ball. So we'll see. As long as we're not comparing Raiola to Mahomes anymore, per his request, as a podcast, we will adhere to that. No more Mahomes comparisons, Raiola. Maybe we'll make meaner ones going forward. But I guess just final. I mean, Underwood is the man. I love Biff. Biff's cool. Could use more Biff in our lives. Hopefully, maybe he picks up a job at like a Maryland or in Arkansas. Pittman's on the hot seat. Maybe we'll Biff down in Razorback territory. That could feed families.
Biff and Stillwater.
Biff and Stillwater. Let's get Biff a head coaching job. Does Biff want one?
I don't know. Honestly,
or is he more of a right hand man guy? He just likes being the right hand man. Cool guy, Biff.
I feel like he's leaning into like a consigliere type role, if you will. He might be the first true consigliere of college football.
Like Michelle.
Right.
He kind of looks a little bit like Big Dom, but older.
Yeah.
And less Italian.
100%.
Or maybe Polish.
What is Poggi?
Do a quick research on that one. Well, we can move on from that game. I mean, I just Link. They got to get it done.
It's Italian as hell.
Italian, but all right, there we go.
Literally means hill or knoll.
Maybe a brother from another mother.
Biff Hill. There you go.
Another big surprise of the weekend. I mean, Indiana, the Hoosiers football, 63-10. Doubt Sig at your own risk. I sure have many times. They kind of treated it like a doormat game. They were basically picking the gum off their shoes, picking Illinois off their shoes by the second quarter. This one was already well out of reach. I mean, Illinois still being ranked in the polls, I think is a little disrespectful to the teams on the outside looking in that haven't lost yet. You lose by 53 points in a game that's a couple score odds there. That's pretty disappointing. I don't know. Well, any thoughts from this game besides holy shit, Indiana is rolling and they might have a chip on their shoulder, just like Chisholm, about how people kind of acted about their inclusion in the college football playoff last year?
I'm I'm saying this. I was all over Indiana on the pod last week. Apparently didn't have it written down. I'm going to chalk that up as a Chisholm W because
Yeah,
I stood firm
sure.
against the Illinois faithful. This week, I think
As I
Illinois is
was.
actually a very fun spot. But yeah, last week I was all in on Cignetti, just kind of cementing himself for this year, right? Like he even said this in, I think it was pregame, maybe post, but it was like, I did a lot of talking last year because the university needed it, right? Like everybody that has ever thought of Indiana football is sad to think about it until all of a sudden last year, right? You all of a sudden have the flip of the script where the dying basketball blue blood program becomes a football school seemingly overnight and making it to the playoff. And now they're cooking with gas already this year too. Like they're running shit up.
Here you go. If you're like a hardcore Indiana basketball guy, always have been, and then you kind of just sense they have been such an afterthought of a program on the football side. Are you like, obviously you want to see the success, but is there like a part of you that's worried that football might just kind of start to take over and, the state of Indiana is known for their basketball could be left in the dust, or are you just excited to see a better program in the fall?
I don't know.
It'd be like if Duke all of a sudden started sucking ass at basketball for 10 years and their football team. It'd just be weird. It's just weird. I don't know. It just feels unnatural and unright, and I'm going to keep pushing against it for a long time until they make me surrender, which they took a step in that direction this last weekend.
I'd love to hear Rothstein's thoughts on that. If you put Rothstein and like Joel Klatt or somebody in a room and just had them duke it out, which one would be better for the university?
Yeah.
I think there'd be a lot of intelligent arguments made. I think there'd be a lot of robotic hand movements too.
Yeah.
So.
Rothstein's a great guy. Unfortunately, I think his mom was taking Tylenol while she was pregnant, but
big time.
Love John. All right, Auburn went to Oklahoma. Oklahoma got it done. Biggest win, I think, of Venables' career, but it came at a price. Mr. Mateer, cry no more, out with about 4 to 5 weeks, supposedly. He's got a thumb injury. It's going to require surgery. We had him circled for the Heisman favorite. We had him circled early in the season. That ticket's obviously gone down the drain now, which is hard to watch from a bettor's perspective. But for the University of Oklahoma, this was their big win, their momentum-building win, and now they have the hardest, 3 to 4 game stretch of the season without their starting quarterback. We'll see how that plays out, but gosh, Hugh Freeze, you were on the right side of that one. Hugh Freeze continues to be a jagaloon.
Yeah, he's just not a good coach. Still, I don't, that hasn't changed at any point. So I was fully prepared to, take the L on that one if Jackson Arnold went out there and balled out. But there's a reason that he's not the starting quarterback at Oklahoma anymore. And there's a reason that, Mateer was one of the Heisman front runners for the early season. But all the Fernando Mendoza ticket holders are feeling juiced to the gills
Huge
right now.
Mendoza game. It's like a Netflix series or something, right? All right, Texas Tech at Utah. Texas Tech, hard place to play. I was kind of shocked by this result. 34-10 up in Salt Lake. The Texas Tech's roster, they turned over a lot of people. There was a lot of hype surrounding them. They're kind of the dark horse favorite within the Big 12, and they seem to be living up to that currently. So that's a big win and just notable. Wanted to call that out. Any additional thoughts there? Just keep this train going.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm trying to figure out what the odds are for this Texas Tech team, but I don't know. FanDuel's not throwing out current conference championships, so that is a mark on FanDuel. All right, the last game we're just going to quickly touch on. Friday night game, first game of the weekend. Huge ratings for the Hawkeyes. Hey, that was fun. 38-28. Anytime the Hawkeyes score 38 points, my pickle will be tickling, and that was a good one. I can't believe that score. I was already getting ready to be pre-mad about Iowa fans, too, that we win this game 38-37. And they're like, well, defense can't stop anyone. Then we win 13-10. Well, then we got to have more offense. It was fun to see Iowa win in a different way. When was the last time we've seen them win in this way? I can't even remember. So pretty electric and good vibes, especially on the road. up in Jersey before going into this matchup with Indiana, which we'll cover briefly later in the pod.
Extra day of rest too. The Friday game that could
huge.
play a huge factor going up against Indiana, who, I mean, they obviously were sitting their starters towards the end, but still, it's a full day of rest.
Yeah, it is a full day of rest. All right, real quick, some big news out of college football over the weekend and something that we've been advocating for here on Red Money. SEC, hey, you want to get as many teams in as you want. You want to complain and bitch and moan when one of your teams doesn't get in. Everybody else is playing a 9-game conference schedule. You guys are playing San Houston State in the middle of the fall. I know that the Texas just played them, but they'll have those games in where they're playing Sisters of the Poor down in November. So they're going to a 9-game schedule, which is huge for college football, huge for college football fans. It means we get more games with better matchups. And they also released the schedules for the next 4 years, which is insane. As an SEC fan, I think that takes away a little bit of like the, kid on Christmas morning of unwrapping the presents of like, who do we get? Home game, away game? Who are we playing? And maybe there still is some of that in terms of the actual scheduling, but they do know who they're playing 4 years out. And they also have some protected rivalries as well. Each team gets 3 protected rivalries, which is always kind of fun to look at because some teams consider others more rivalries than vice versa, right? So anything stick out to you with the scheduling update in terms of protected rivalries and just kind of SEC moving to 9 games?
I mean, to be a lower to bottom tier team in the SEC and have protected anything, you're kind of like son of a bitch, like if you're Kentucky and every year, you have Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee on the schedule, no matter what, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at this here.
God, it could be worse. It feels like they kind of gave Vanderbilt and Mississippi State like a wink and a nod and a handshake and said, you guys just can play each other once a year. Like, we all know you're the bottom 2, basically, most years, mixing Kentucky. You guys can just play each other. I do like Texas has protected 3 the most because I do think it's the most representative of who their rivals are.
Yeah.
You got Arkansas, which goes back to the SWAC, or basically like the Texas conference where Rice was in it, and there's all Texas schools and Arkansas.
Yep.
So there's some history there. Then you got OU and A&M, obviously back to the Big 12 days. So I thought that was great. And then from a standpoint of, gosh, these are all pretty good. But from a standpoint of like the actual SEC teams, if one really sticks out, they're all pretty solid. Who does LSU got? Arkansas, Ole Miss, A&M. That feels weird. I feel like LSU and Bama should be playing every year, but yeah. So hey, just a little for those of you that maybe weren't aware, coming in the future, there will be these protected lineups. Go ahead and take a look at them if that's something that interests you.
I think the biggest one.
Start up? Oh yeah,
just specifically within Texas, and your point about the SWAC, the fact that we're guaranteed to see Texas versus A&M again, like every year, that's so great for college football and the state of Texas as a whole. Like, that game every year is going to be, hopefully that game starts to get hyped up and the animosity leads to like something that is worthy of competing with a Michigan, Ohio State, the top tier rivalries in football. I think that the amount of hatred between the 2 universities puts it there, but the game's got to be played and has not gone A&M's way in the past. So
the Big Ten West, especially more than anywhere else in college football, is known for trophy games and rivalries and kind of building those things up. Maybe now that the SEC has some of these protected rivalries, we'll start to see maybe some more of that trophy aspect, or get some naming conventions going. I mean, Red River Shootout, Red River Rivalry, like that's just, great coin name that just adds a little extra pizzazz that gets me fired up as a fan. So I'm hoping that the SEC, now that, some of these rivalries, it's a 4-year cycle, but 90% of them will be an eternity cycle. Hopefully they can really get into the naming of it, really start setting the stage.
What is the name of it? They have to have a nickname.
For what? Which one?
There is no nickname for it. How is there not a nickname for Texas versus Texas A&M?
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's get these nicknames in here. Maybe that's what us at Rent Money, that's what we can do. Maybe we'll come back to you all and start brainstorming nicknames for some of these games that need them.
Yeah, this is one. This is like the battle. The Lone Star Showdown is what Wikipedia says, but
that just seems like that's AI.
Yeah, I don't feed into that. That's propaganda.
Oh man! All right. Well, in memoriam, we got two of them. Do you want to start upstate, or do you want to go down to Bedlam?
Always start with the North.
For it.
Oh, do you want me to do this?
Yeah, I think you should. This is your guy. You're calling it. I would say, Adam, you were right. You were right the whole time. So I want you to do your victory lap, even though our man's is going to be going to the sideline.
Yeah. So we were excited. I know I was excited for the tracker, and to see, if he'd be able to go out and toss a little bit better than a Honda Accord. But our sweet Italian pony prince, Steve Angeli, suffered a torn Achilles, I believe it was the injury. It's a very severe one to the point where he's for sure done for the year. All over Instagram and social media, I was seeing current Notre Dame players reposting it, and it just broke my heart every time. But yeah, Steve Angeli will not be on the field. I don't think ever again in college football. I'm pretty sure he's graduating after this year. The guy deserves his flowers. He got Notre Dame into the national championship when Riley went out against Penn State, held his own there. And he was big balling, leading the country once again. And, Syracuse is on a bit of a heater, I guess. Beating Clemson isn't as big of a deal now as it might have been had he told the Syracuse Orange fan that preseason. But still a big deal. It's still, you've led to how many Dabo quotes, too many to count, about the current state of the season now. But Steve, wherever you're at, we're with you. Would love it if you want to, be an analyst within the Rent Money Pop Off Pod Network. Love to have you. You're obviously an intelligent man if you're playing at Notre Dame previously. Wish you a speedy recovery, and you'll make a great father someday.
Love you, Steve. We truly do. I'm getting a little feedback. Sorry about that. All right, let's go down to Bedlam. Wow. I want to say this is a shocker. It's been trending this way, and Mike Gundy was obviously on the hot seat. And when it first happened, my first response was, okay, they definitely gave him kind of an ultimatum. Like, at some point in the next week or two, you kind of announced that, hey, this is going to be my last season, and no matter how it plays out, like, love Oklahoma State, and it's just time for me to, move on, and time for Oklahoma State to move on. And as news started to trickle out, it did become apparent. I think this was kind of the conversation that Oklahoma State's athletic department presented Mike Gundy, and Mike Gundy in Gundy fashion basically said, fuck that. If I'm going to be out of here at the end of the year, I'm going to be out of here now. I'm not doing no dead man walking victory lap. This is it for me. And, he was one of the longest tenured coaches in college football. At one point led Oklahoma State to 18 straight bowl games, a program that when he first started there as a player didn't have much tradition, much glory. And he really turned them into a staple. Consistency. Let's see, like fun, interactive. The mullet, his press conferences. I mean, he's a personality, right? Along with Texas Tech, I would say Oklahoma State and Texas Tech elevated air raid football and slinging it football. And then he reinvented himself, and they had the leading rusher in the nation with Ollie Gordon, but 4 years ago, right? And so this is a guy that's obviously an offensive mind, but he was just somebody that made up the bones and was a part of the infrastructure of college football. It's what we love about college football. Each of these teams change over a lot each year, even more so with the college football portal. But these legendary coaches are kind of the glue that holds it together, especially when you see, I don't know, just When I think of Oklahoma State, I think of Mike Gundy. Simple as that. And it's sad to see him go. It's sad to see him leave. Probably not on his terms. Make no mistake, though, like this was a team that was trending in the wrong direction, and maybe it is because of funding, as Gundy mentioned prior to the Oregon game, and maybe he's just not the guy at this stage in his career. We saw this on the college basketball side with a bunch of legendary coaches all leaving in a flurry. Maybe he just wasn't at this point and stage in his career where he was ready to engage in the amount of politicking, money grabbing, portal era. And so Mike Gundy, it's just in memoriam. We love you. We appreciate what you've done for college football. We'll see if he turns up somewhere else, or if he turns up on a ballot, or if he turns up on Fox News, or where he's at. But Mike Gundy is a legend of college football.
Yeah, dude, I don't think people understand the impact that he had on this university. They hadn't won a conference championship game prior to him entering the picture since 1976 when they were in the Big Eight. Prior to that, they were, you guessed it, within the Missouri Valley Conference. Little fun fact. Outside of that, I mean, Gundy took them to several conference championship games, won one of them. That was in 2011. But to start off and come in and, go 4-7, 1-7 in conference play, all of those being, Big 12, and then immediately right the ship. And I don't think they had another losing record season until last year. So that's 2006 to 2023, consistently having a winning record every year, at least competing, for, a bowl game or, a conference championship, taking them to 4 different conference championships in that span of time for how good the Big 12 used to be with Oklahoma, Texas, et cetera. Very, very impressive to me. This will be a very weird period of college football without him, and how he is able to just do absolutely nothing other than whatever the fuck Mike Gundy wants to do. He deserves that much at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be remiss if we don't at least hit I'm a man, I'm 40, up there for all time best post-conference, like press conference post-game speeches. Still gets quoted all the time. It's became a part of our lexicon as Americans, as football fans. So yeah, it makes me sad. It makes me feel old. That's for sure. Mike Gundy is getting old, but he's not that old. Like, he could definitely keep coaching. So we'll see where Oklahoma State goes next. It's gonna be big shoes to fill.
What about Biff? His quote, Gundy's quote that doesn't get talked about as much is the "I'm a man, I'm 40," but talking about like driving home after having a couple of beers, and now he's done that over 1,000 times, is an absolute all-timer, especially knowing that he's just through and through Stillwater, Oklahoma. You're like, I appreciate his honesty,
He's definitely got like styrofoam cup alcoholism going, you're not sure what's in that styrofoam cup. It could be like a little sweet tea and some Captain or something, but thousands of times never got caught, as far as I know. But shit. All right. R.I.P. Mike Gundy. R.I.P. Steve Angeli. All right, let's get into the slate. It's a doozy, dude. I'm fired up. Tell me you all right as well. I mean, give me a little energy here, Chisholm. I mean, this is what we live for, baby.
This slate, especially after the last few weeks, holy shit, I'm ready to see some of these games go down. Fire up, dude.
Do you have one that you're most excited for?
I mean, if I'm being honest, like, full bias, I'm very excited for the Iowa-Indiana game, especially coming off of last week, but I'd be remiss if we didn't at least bring up, Lane Kiffin getting a shot to put a bounty on his daughter's new boyfriend's head.
Yeah, let's start there. We previewed it. LSU's at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 1.5 point favorites at home, over under 55.5. Gosh, I mean, just from a standpoint of on the game, both these teams have a lot on the line. LSU is 15th in defensive third down percentage. Ole Miss is 98th with turnover margin. LSU's got a good red zone offense. They're getting to the LSU's red zone offense has been pretty mid. LSU as a whole, Nussmeier, I've not been as impressed as I thought I was going to be this year with Nussmeier. but geez, Kiffin and them, they just had a win last week against that Arkansas team by a 1-score game. And I don't know, just there's a lot to be excited about from this game, but what's probably bringing the most eyeballs is Landry Kiffin, which is just an absolute insane name for your daughter. Like I always crack up when males want to pass on their heirloom name, but can't get it done because they're not having any boys, and so they just kind of work around it, right? You know, you got your Georges, and they named their daughter maybe Georgina, something along those lines. But Landry Kiffin is started dating, or at least hard launched, as the kids say to the public world, Wet Weeks, the starting middle linebacker for LSU, stud linebacker, good mustache on him too. The week that they're going up against her dad, Lane Kiffin. Is this an inside? Like, is she a mole? Is she with Lane? Or is this like, what's the thought process about this? You think they got in a tiff earlier in the week and she said, all right, Dad, I'm going to blow up your spot a little bit? Or as we know, Lane likes making TikToks with these daughters. He's doing it all off season. Maybe he's all about the, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? It's a very interesting timing to make something like that public, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, Lane, keep your house in order is the first piece of advice that I would give, or at least that's where my brain initially went. But then also knowing Lane, this is a guy that honestly is as good at being in the spotlight as any other facet of his ability to coach or recruit or anything. And I know like he's been a big proponent of, using himself within like a video game or, whatever else he can do in order for him to get a little bit more publicity. And I think he's doing it for more so recruiting reasons. And I'll take that over like the video of Brian Kelly with the spinning camera where he's doing like this shit. And, that looks a little weird, but Lane seems more natural doing it. I don't know if this is something he is urged her to do.
Is he orchestrating this? Like, Lane is good with the media.
Is she a spy?
Yeah. Because this is a lot more on this middle linebacker, right, and what he's dealing with than maybe it is for Lane. Like, it's just an odd thing for Lane, but he's just he embraces that kind of like controversy, always has. But
I'm a traditionalist in the sense that if I have a stud interior linebacker, I want his girlfriend to not actually exist at all. I want her to be a figment of his imagination, and ideally it's someone pretending to be a woman that isn't. That's just me personally. I think that's the fastest way for you to get into Heisman voting as well. Witt's going a different direction. His brother Wes also playing on that defense with him. I don't think they're twins, but they're very close in age. Yeah, he's a stud. He got a lot of airtime as well for anyone that watched that Any Given Saturday on Netflix. And part of me thinks that this is a bit of a coup that's been set up.
Yeah.
I think either Netflix knew something.
She's taking pictures, maybe taking pictures of the playbook.
Something fishy is going on. And I think we're going to see that play out for the game this weekend. But specifically, it'll be nice to not.
You got any analogies, like Chisholm? Like, maybe it's hard for me to relate as, being a head football coach and having a daughter, two things which I do not have. And then she's going off and dating my competitors, those maybe arguably most important player, top 5 probably.
I get an analogy of what just this scenario.
Yeah, like make it into terms that I can understand.
All right. Yeah, I mean,
applicable to me.
Yeah, I guess I would describe it as like
let the man cook.
Give me a second. This is off the cuff. I personally would put this more or less in the camp of like a
Berlin Wall.
Similar. If the Berlin Wall had a daughter and she was just sent to Argentina out of nowhere, created residence, place to stay, things of that nature. You see it a lot as well. Maybe it's somebody's trying to, get citizenship in the US, right? And they're like,
There you
fuck
go.
that H1B process or, getting my green card. I'm just gonna find the first American tourist that I can, give him some of that good, and then he'll have to take me home with him after that and marry me, at which point, boom, I'm a citizen. Welcome to the world.
There you go. That's actually good. That's great. She's establishing residency down in Baton Rouge.
Yep.
She's obtaining green card through Wes. Or am I thinking of his brother now? Through
you're thinking of his brother. Whit is who we're talking.
Whit.
Great name, by
and
the
then
way.
she's gonna send back a bunch of playbooks. Do you think he's like on his guard a little bit, like around her? Like, hey, babe, don't touch the playbooks.
This week for sure. I think that's what Lane, if I'm Lane, that's kind of what I've done as well, is I want his guard to be up. I don't want to know anything, but I want him on edge, because then also after the game, I think, is when you could really wreak havoc, because then he won't care anymore. He's like, oh, well, we don't play you. Little do they know they're going to meet up in the SEC championship or some insane shit like that. I think Lane's playing the long game here. I do not know if Landry knows that she is part of it, but I think Lane knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and then you got Jackson Arnold over here on Ole Miss's side.
No,
he's at Auburn. I'm all over the place here.
Austin Simmons.
Trying to segue this. Yeah, Austin Sims. There we go. I don't know. Ultimately, do you have a pick on this game, and what is it?
If I had to make a pick on this one, I would lean LSU, specifically for the reasons that I just gave, but then also because there is just like a bit of a quarterback controversy going on right now. And I don't think this is a game where you can have two quarterbacks playing and expect to maintain rhythm or momentum on the offense.
Yeah.
They're going to have to lay the hammer down. Like,
as of a couple hours ago, breaking news, Trinidad Chambliss is expected to start over Austin Simmons. So, wow, that is big news. I don't know how that affects the line, if it has moved at all much because of that. I don't think it really has. Either way, I was already on the under of 55.5. I just think this LSU football team is not one that wants to play high-scoring games in general, as much as Ole Miss does, and they're at home. They're going to try and dictate their terms. We're going to go with the under 55.5. All right. Oregon.
I will say this. The game opened with LSU being favored by 1.5. Obviously, the line is moved to where Ole Miss is favored. I haven't seen any movements recently. Like over the span of today alone, it's been flat. Nothing's changed since a while ago, like 3 days ago. So wow, it'll be interesting to see that, which is shocking to me personally, because pretty much all of the system plays are on LSU here, but the Sharps are absolutely hammering Ole Miss. So we'll see what Vegas knows.
What's that show called again? That's highlights the SEC teams and players.
Any given Saturday, I believe.
Any given Saturday. I might have to tune into this post episode that they're recapping. I'm sure. Sounds like they were already maybe setting this up a little bit. This storyline.
That, and also defense being a focal point of this game. Here's a trend for you I wanted to share before we move on. 7 of the last 10 matchups between these two teams have gone over 55.5 points, actually averaging 78.4 out of those 7 games.
What about in the Brian Kelly era?
That I do not know. I try to get as big of a sample size as I could without.
No, that's good. No, I'm not trying to press. I mean, some of those LSU teams, right, would have been pretty high scoring.
Right. This season, I know LSU's got an average of only 29 points per game with 392 yards per game. Ole Miss, on the other hand, 44.8 points per game and 543 yards per game. It's Lane Kiffin coach team, so they're going to obviously be humming on offense. And I think as much as Brian Kelly wants to pretend that LSU is a balanced team, they need to establish the fact that they can run the ball, because they have yet to do that in a single game this year, which makes me think that Nussmeier is going to end up just going crazy, airing it out. I think it'll be a shootout like Lane wants it to be.
Okay. Oregon at Penn State, whiteout game. A whiteout game. Arnie Palmer alert. Arnie Palmer alert. Penn State 3.5-point favorites at home, over under 51.5. We saw this game twice last year. We saw it in the Big Ten championship as well, which was a really great game. And it was a high scoring game, actually, at that. So in this one, do you have a lean here between these two teams?
I guess I do, and that would be Oregon. I don't like Drew Aller just hasn't been as good as he's supposed to be. Neither of the wide receivers that they've supposedly invested all of this money into. I think Kotelnicki's gotten more than he bargained for, just being underneath James Franklin. I don't know if he'll ever actually be able to showcase what he can do like we used to see him do at Kansas. But I think the only way that they can really compete in this game is if they just fully commit to the run, just giving it to Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. So we'll see how that looks. But Dante Moore, he's looked really good. He's out throwing
Drew Aller by Dante Moore,
out throwing over 300 yards more through just as many games, and leading receiver right now for Penn State is Pena with only 166 yards, and they've played 3 games now. So they don't have like a favorite target. Tyler Warren's gone, and he kind of was that. I don't know. We'll see. I think this is a game either Penn State comes out and dominates, or Oregon's just going to win straight up because Dan Lanning's prepared and better.
Yeah, I love Dan Lanning. You know I do. Come on now.
He's a great coach.
I was so out on Alar last year, and then as the postseason went on, I saw kind of what those highlights and those intangibles and tangible skill sets that he has just from a physical standpoint with a big arm. He uses his hips a lot with his throws, and he can get some zip on the ball. And so he was playing some winning football and he was making winning plays. I was starting to change my tune a little bit. Like, hey, okay, this guy's coming back next year, and like hopefully we're going to see a little bit of a leap that we're starting to see in front of our eyes. And he's came back and he's kind of reverted to that very inconsistent again. And this is 2 years now where Penn State's looking for explosive plays after they basically hit the bottom, and that's why they went out and got Kotelnicki. And last year they saw a bit of an improvement, but this year it really has declined a little bit. A lot of that's probably due to Tyler Warren, as you mentioned. All in on Dante Moore. If you want to watch fun young like quarterbacks play coming from UCLA, Dante Moore is your guy. If he could come out right now, a lot of the experts would say he has turned himself into kind of like a front-running guy. Next year, at the beginning of the year, it's like, hey, DJ Lagway. No, Dante Moore is kind of the guy to circle for next year, I would say at this point. And it's his first real true big game environment. I mean, wide out, it doesn't get any bigger than that. Only 4 teams have ever won, or programs have ever won at the whiteout, including Iowa, I will note. And I do think this weekend it could be a fifth team. I'm not going to take the money line. We'll take plus 3.5, Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, I think this is one that if you're on Oregon at all, like get the 3.5 before it moves. If you're on Penn State, I mean, the game opened at 6.5, so maybe throw an alternate line. Like I could see if Drew Aller is able to make actual quarterback plays, like he's able to deliver the rock and he's using his legs more. I think if Drew Aller uses his legs the way that he has been talking about how he will, could be a different story. Just the home field advantage, all that. But I don't know. I'm excited to see I feel like Lanning lives for these, and I would assume that Dante does as well if he signed up for this job. Like I think this could be game of the year material.
100%. And Oregon did get the best of them last year in that championship game, but obviously Penn State had a more of a successful run in the college football playoffs, which we've gone long and we've discussed this in great detail. But gosh, doesn't that just sometimes it pisses me off that it's devalued the championship game, where you do forget those moments. Like Oregon, they were the 13-0 last year going into college football playoffs.
Right.
Bama at Georgia. I mean, holy shit. Bama at Georgia is the third game we're covering. Like, when has this not been top billed? I can't remember. You got DeBoer's Head Meats versus Kirby Smart. You got Ty Simpson versus Gunnar Stockton. That's how we do it at this podcast. Sure, we'll get in the nitty gritty. Chisholm's got some muscle for you. But we like to look at things top down. You know, you got the head coaches and you got the quarterbacks. And ultimately, right or wrong, simple or not, that's a lot of times what football will come down to. And Gunnar Stockton, at least to me in that Tennessee game, showed me that why he might not be the sole reason that Georgia wins a lot of games. He also might not be a reason why they lose them, which at the beginning of the year had some nervousness around, like, okay, what's Gunnar got? And he's a gamer. He showed me a lot. So from Georgia's standpoint, like, here's what I would say is the three keys. And just early preview, I'm on Georgia. It's hard for me to take the board's head meets on the road. I think Oregon at plus 3.5 just way better value at Penn State than Bama at plus 3.5, even though Bama is probably a little bit more desperate than that Oregon team is. But they're going to have to be physical. You know, Georgia's going to have to win at the line of scrimmage, which I think they will be able to do. Bama's got 5 stars on both sides of the ball, but DeBoer's Head Meats is not known to be the trenches guy, right? Like, that's never been the case. While Georgia's D-line is probably the least impressive it's been in 5 to 6 years. Still got some studs on that end, but it's not like all world where they just absolutely destroy teams. And we saw that with Tennessee, you know, being able to put up a big number. The next is, you know, play Georgia football. For me, that sounds like a lot of play action pass. We're going to run the ball under shotgun, and we're going to run play action pass. And that's Georgia football on the offensive end. And on the defense, it's mucking it up in the line and elevating where they've been playing at that position. And then lastly is going to be force Alabama to be one-dimensional. These are the things I wrote down right here. Athens will be roaring and pretty excited. And if they can keep Bama, you know, consistently with those short RPOs, stuff in the run, and making them just kind of overall uncomfortable for – is this Ty Simpson's first major road test? Like, we're getting so many big road tests for these young quarterbacks this weekend. And so for those, I think those are the 3 keys from the Georgia standpoint. Bama's got to get Ryan Williams involved. But, yeah, I'm on Georgia plus 3.5, but I'm also on the over of 52.5, kind of, you know, reminiscing back to that Tennessee game. Like, these SEC games are not SEC games from 6 years ago, and I think many of them have shown to be high-scoring shootout affairs.
Especially now that Saban's gone, like the need for elite defense isn't there nearly as much, knowing that the mastermind of, you know, setting the tone and, you know, keeping games competitive and low scoring, he's gone. You've already seen that take effect. Worth noting coming into this one, Georgia has yet to cover a spread on the season. They're 0-3 ATS. Bama, obviously 2-1, but you mentioned it. Ty Simpson, is this his first road test? No, it's not. Week 1 against Florida State was, and we watched how that played out. Not extremely well. Granted, it was, you know, I think a lot of people were sleeping on Florida State, myself included. But a lot of people are overhyping Kalen DeBoer and his ability to win any football game against a worthy or even less than worthy opponent. He has yet to prove anything to me. Last year in particular, you mentioned something about Gunnar Stockton too. He's not going to lose you the game. That's exactly what Carson Beck did last year. They still came back, still almost won, but he threw how many interceptions in the first half? Like, you can't do that.
Kirby's king of adjustments.
Amen. Like, and that's the other thing too. Anything that Bama is going to come out and throw, Kirby will be ready for, and they're going to be able to make the right tweaks and the right adjustments. And they're just more balanced overall. Gunner, a little over 700 yards to Ty Simpson's 800 plus, 850 plus. But I mean, they have multiple backs with Georgia that are over 100. The top rusher right now, being Riley out of Bama, is only at 120 yards through their 3 games compared to Giovanni Bernard, who is their top, I believe it's Giovanni Bernard, who is only, he's their top receiver, not Ryan Williams, which is interesting, but he's got 275. So they've been airing it out. They've been yucking the ball. When you're down to Florida State, I guess you're kind of forced to do that, but it's going to be interesting to see which team goes all in on trying to pound the rock and really control time of possession, because I could see that playing a factor. Otherwise, I think the over is probably the best bet in this one, knowing we just watched Georgia and Tennessee. Don't overthink it. Like, it's two highly ranked teams in the SEC. They're going to have to go 1 for 1, 2 for 2. Like, it'll be a lot of back and forth. And I trust Kirby to do that significantly better than Kalen DeBoer. It's fuck Bama over here.
How hot does that seat get if Georgia wins this game, as they're expected to, per the odds makers?
I mean, in Tuscaloosa, it's already hot. Like, the standard is championships, and not just conference, but national. And they're struggling, and they have been. Year one, benefit of the doubt, like whatever you want to say, but year two, nothing changes if nothing changes. So yeah, I'd be scared.
They got Vandy, they got Missouri, they got Tennessee. I mean, they should run the table in those games, but they likely won't if they are the team we're kind of like making them out to be, which is a above average good team, maybe 9-3, 10-2.
I mean, if Vanderbilt did it last year, like, they're better this year, and Bama is
then
not.
They still got LSU and Oklahoma. Then beyond that, and the always tricky Auburn game, but at least they have Eastern Illinois mixed in there on November 22nd. Fucking horseshit.
Bama's gonna have to win like big games in order to just get to a bowl game. Like, if we're being honest, that's
they could very well win this game,
100%. But like,
and
that's
then if they
saying.
do that, everything's in good shape. Take care of business. A couple weeks, split LSU and Oklahoma, and be 10-2 and go to the college football playoffs. Iowa. I think we're gonna get Gus J on the call at 3:30, 2:30, 3:30 slot on Fox. But we got plus 7.5 points here for the Hawkeyes against Indiana. The over under is 48.5. Kinnick is a beast that needs to be fed, Chisholm. This is a beast that hasn't been fed probably since the Penn State game of, what was that, 2022?
Yeah, needs to be fed.
I think it's 2.
2022.
95% sure.
We haven't won a big game since
it was 2022, because if it was 2021, I still would have been staying at cushier pads than Chris Brown's floor.
All right.
Mrs. Jones was still going to school at that point, so
we do love some Mrs. Jones.
Gosh, it is 2021. Oh, dude, it was 2 years after we graduated football seasons, 1 year after we graduated. Well, hey, we've talked a little bit about both these teams. I don't really know if I have a whole lot of insights specifically about this game. Do you have anything that you'd like to share just in terms of like edge, or you think that's going to become the story of the game? Indiana's just been such a wagon that it's hard to even accurately describe like what they're good at, because they've just been balanced and good at everything so far this year. Metrics all across the board. Well, Iowa still really hasn't scored or thrown for 200 yards in a game yet. But the last 2 weeks have been more encouraging, and we don't expect the quarterback to be throwing for 250, 300, etc. It'd be nice if it happened, but it's more about making the plays and taking the shot opportunities when they're there, as well as his ability to use his legs too, which we've seen with his three rushing touchdowns last week. So, Mark has been, I think, as advertised and getting there. Obviously, it was a really rough game against Iowa State, and people have to remember that was his first true road game in really Division I college football, where there was those expectations, the Cy-Hawk rivalry. It was definitely a disappointing game offensively from him, but the legs are there. Hopefully, he continues to make smart decisions with his reads and puts the ball. He doesn't need to be Seneca Wallace. He doesn't need to be game stopper. He just needs to be able to make those couple clutch throws throughout the game while limiting mistakes.
Yeah, Iowa just needs to come out and play incredibly sound fundamental football, at least for the first quarter, so that you're actually able to set up that home run ball off play action or something to that extent, right? I think Notre Dame in the playoff last year is kind of the playbook if you're Iowa in terms of utilizing the quarterback scramble and, design, read, and run plays, having stout, tight defense that's going to force pressure on Mendoza, but at the same time, shade and be prepared for the run. Signetti wants this one. Don't kid yourself that I don't care what the line is. I feel
he
like
said
this
some
is
imposing words too about, going to Champagne's a little different than going to Kinnick as a top 15 team.
Yeah, and he knows what the standard is too when you do this. Like, granted, it's been 4 years since any teams had to be worried, but as much as I can't stand watching some of the throws that Gronowski misses, his legs are just such a weapon, and I think it really does just change everything about a game, having your quarterback be able to just make a play, whether it's through the air or on the ground. And so as long as Phil Parker is still Phil Parker, Iowa has a chance to win outright, but I'd be an idiot not to take the Hawks as more than a touchdown underdogs at home against a team that's got all of the hype, but like it was Illinois. So I'm not investing too much thought into that. It would appear as though Vegas has. That's a big over adjustment in my mind.
It's like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm sure you've seen it all over your feed. Iowa's offensive line PFF grades and their college football ranks by position. You got Trevor Locke at left tackle, 87.4. He's first. You know what? The ratings don't really matter. I'll tell you the rank. You got Bo Stevens, left guard, highest ranked left guard in the country. Logan Jones at center, highest ranked center in the country. Cade Piper, right guard, highest ranked right guard in the country. And Jennings Dunker at right tackle, who Jennings was probably the most well-known guy on this line coming into the year. Second, which is not too shabby. At the positions in the country, we might have 5 linemen drafted off this team. And when you start to think about it like that, anything less than 9-3 will be a bit of a disappointment. When you got 5 NFL caliber quality offensive linemen, you want to see some success. And we're seeing it in the trenches. They've had situations like there was a 20-minute period of the Iowa State game where they just utterly dominated the game. They only scored 10 points over those 20 minutes and really didn't score after that. And they had a bad turnover within there, and it was brutal. But you could see how they can start to control games with just 4 or 5 yards here, 4 or 5 yards here. These guys are just eating them up. So that's very exciting and gives me a lot of hope. And these PFF grades, they're like wishy-washy at times, but they are adjusted for opponent and they are adjusted for eye test. Most of it is based off eye test, honestly. So nonetheless, it's still very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's whether you care or not is up to you, but everybody's being rated on the same scale, and these guys are toward the top. So argue with the fucking wall.
Are we going to beat Indiana, Oregon, Penn State because of it? I don't know. Our chances are better. But as the season wears on and starts to get gross out and we're playing teams of similar talent and quality, that will really start to shine through. So it definitely is, in my mind, raised the floor of this team. Well, shit, I think those are the big games we wanted to highlight. We're about an hour in, which is just right on schedule, right on time. Chisholm, we're missing Texas Pete right now. I got to say, I don't think we've acknowledged us missing out on Texas Pete enough. If he's out there listening, not doing well. This is on me as a host. Maybe we need to splice something in there. I don't think we really gave a explanation for Mr. Pete being gone. Mother and baby are at home. They're doing well. Texas Pete's tending to them. No, I'm just kidding. He's been down and under the weather this week and wanted to save the listeners. The airwaves and vocal fry. That is where he's at, just vocally and how he sounds. He might need to get on the Bruno Mars Lady Gaga treatment, throat lozenges and hot tea. Shout out Goose. Goose was in Chicago this last weekend. But we're going to go ahead and give out our picks for the weekend, unless Chisholm has anything else he would like to discuss.
I would like to say I send in all my best wishes to, Texas Pete and the Texas Pete household. Hopefully, Mrs. Pete doesn't catch anything, but I'd be remiss, and child. I'd be remiss not to bring up how fucking soft it is to, miss out on an opportunity for greatness because you're feeling under the weather. I think, I always viewed Texas Pete as a man of grit and a man of his word. So to get that text pre-production meeting broke my heart, genuinely. Can't stop thinking about him. I hope everything's okay. Worried this could be something bigger than just a simple common cold.
You definitely get nervous.
Because he is a man of grit. That's
usually our pre-production guy too. The Longhorns thought they had a wet dream in Arch. Turns out it was just a dream. Nothing wet or gay about it. Texas Pete texted me that on Saturday. Us, I should say. Like, these are the takes we're missing out on. John Mateer, more like John crying tears. I heard this guy's out for 5 weeks. This is the Texas Pete we could have been having. Chisholm, can we get a Caleb Airstrike Drones prop this weekend? Well, Texas Pete didn't come to the production meeting, so no, Chisholm does not have a Caleb Airstrike Drones prop this weekend. We'll be all right though. We'll keep pumping them out, and Texas Pete will be back next week, I'm sure. All right, I got 10 picks this week, Chisholm. Do you want to go tit for tat, or just you go first, I go second? Usually you got more picks, so I always kind of let you follow me up, but this time maybe I back clean up since I'm a 10-pick Jones.
I have 9, but I'll give you 10. Just need you to start.
Okay, I can go first. That's all right. Well, last week I went 4-2. Temple plus 23.5. Good bet. Vandy blew out Georgia State. Iowa money line. Michigan did well. West Virginia sucked, so Kansas covered. Thank you. Illinois, bad bet. So 4-2. I'm 12-9 on the year. It's pretty good if you ask me. So under 55.5 in the Ole Miss versus LSU game. Talked about that earlier. Brian Kelly I think has enough of a fingerprint on this game that it will go under. Ole Miss switching in quarterbacks. This guy's got a big challenge here too. Georgia minus 3.5 at home, over 52.5 SEC shootout. Georgia already played one of these against Tennessee. I could see it being very similar this weekend against Alabama. I do now believe that Gunner can win one of these games, and the fact that they've done there and been there, sure, they're always going to want to limit the team and stop them from scoring. Like, that's every defense's goal. But they're not going to be afraid of it. Georgia 3.5, I just think Kirby's going to outcoach them at home. Why not? Oregon, I have -3. That's what I saw on ESPN Bet. So, fuck a 3. Oh, +3. +3.5, right? Okay, on the road. Thank you. +3.5, Oregon. Whiteout. Dan Lanning's going to knock it off his list, going to Happy Valley and win on a whiteout. More best quarterback in college football, question mark. He has a chance to kind of take the front runner and take the lead of that this weekend if he gets it done. Drew Aller still, I think, is inconsistent. Arkansas +4. We got 2 desperate teams here. This is Arkansas at home against Notre Dame. Both teams are desperate, but only one coach is seriously desperate. Pittman, his seat can't be hotter, and this is maybe quit on the team game, quit on the coach game, or rallied around the coach game. I think he's been pretty transparent about where this team is, and I do like Pittman as a coach. I think this is a rally around game. Notre Dame, Adam talked about his biggest surprise is their defense, but without Chisholm, without Al Golden, Chisholm, Notre Dame's defense just might not be what it was last year. Had a bunch of stats about that. We don't have to get into it. One game that Chisholm, I think, has on his card, and we could have went into more depth than we usually would have on a week where the slate isn't so deep. Washington +8.5 at home, a little sailgating. Jed Fish in this offense, I'm not sure how they are not even receiving fringe votes to be in the AP top 25. I also think +8.5 is nuts. Just from a face value perspective, this is the first time in I think since 2007 that the number 1 ranked team has faced an unranked team and not been more than 10-point favorites, which is an interesting stat and just sets off all my alarms in my head of this is a reverse rat, right? I'll take let me get on the right side of the rat. And I think that, Washington's, they're going to be bringing it. The crowd's going to be bringing it. Jonah Coleman at running back is one of the most underrated running backs in the country. Remember that name. And Desmond Williams can kind of sling it. Got some stats around that. But you know what? We're an hour and 5 in. I'll just Keep it simple, stupid. Chisholm might have some of the same stats anyways. Zona at Iowa State. I got Zona +6. I think these teams are very similar. Iowa State's got outperformed by Kansas State on a EPA perspective. They won that game. Iowa game could have went either way. They won that game. They didn't look too great last week, in my opinion, either. They're coming off a bye, but so is Zona. And so we're going to take Zona +6 because I think Iowa State could win this game. Iowa State could very well win this game, but they might do it in just very Iowa State fashion. Rocco Brecht making last-second plays, getting it done. Iowa State's kicker is also hurt. I think this is huge news. Huge news. Chisholm's looking at me now. Iowa State's kicker hurt. That's
Conrad is?
Yeah, that's worth like 2 points to me. So we're gonna go with Zona.
A field goal's worth 3. So I was gonna. I mean, you could say it's worth more than that.
Mm-hmm. Iowa's +7.5. Talked about that earlier, and then we're gonna take the over 48.5. Didn't really mention that during that discussion, but we saw it with I don't think Iowa's defense is as good as it has been in years past, but their offense is a lot more, I think, at least competent. We saw Indiana cover 48.5 alone against an Illinois team that was considered to be pretty stout defensively. And so 40.5 just feels like it's kind of riding on Iowa's reputation a little bit of being a really low scoring team, which they have been, and some might say they are, but that's probably I wish I had data analytics crack team with us. That has to be the highest over under for a Big Ten football game at Iowa in a long time. Yeah, I think Ohio State was like 42 over under, and they were like 34-point favorites type shit. Like,
right.
But that's my card. Trail, don't trail. Tail, don't tail. Do your thing. We are 3 games above 500, so we're gonna hope to remain on the up and up.
I love it. I got 10 plays as well. I guess technically 11, but I'm just tailing you on the one of the totals. So I'll run through here. My ATS picks, all of my against the spread picks. First and foremost, I think my best bet of this week is going to be exactly the opposite of last week. I'm on Auburn +7.5 at Texas A&M, buying a full point here. It's been, I think it's just below 7. It's at 6.5. So I got it at -125 over on Bet365. I highly suggest you line shop for this one. I think that full point is going to win you some money. See that being a touchdown game, maybe just inside of it, but why take the risk? Bowling Green, I'm on them +9.5 going into Athens. That's right. Athens, Ohio, taking on the Bobcats. Speaking of fading the state of Ohio, I'm going to ride Washington as well. Jed Fish, great guy. I think Washington's going to be able to at least hang out and have a good time. A fun stat going into this one as well. Quarterbacks making their first road game appearance in the Power 4, at least. I believe this is for this year. Maybe the last couple of weeks in particular, but 5-9 straight up, not ATS, 5-9 straight up. So it's not easy. I don't care if it's Washington. I don't care if it's Kinnick. I don't care if it's the Big House. They're okay. It's not easy to play starting quarterback on the road in a college football environment. It's simply louder than the NFL. It's simply louder than any other type of environment you could be at. Professionally, or I guess semi-professionally with NIL now. Iowa riding the Hawks +7.5. You get more than a touchdown to play with at home at Kinnick. You get the wave at the end of the first quarter. I think we're set up for success, but I also love that over. I think that's actually probably the best bet you could do in this game, knowing that SIG, even if they do get out, and take a lead, they're going to want to continue to run that up.
They're on run up zone all year. I think they're on run up zone all year long. They didn't even run it up this last game until they basically ran it up to the point where it's like, okay, now we got to
stop. Yeah, it's like he's already dead. Yeah. Next up, we're rocking with Kirby once again in a big game, big spot. Kirby delivers, whether it's covering a spread or not. But I think Georgia gets their first spread covered this week. I got them at -3. I know it's -3.5 at like ESPN Bet and some other books, but you can line shop and get it at that 3 on the dot. I think you're going to cover that just fine, though. I'm also with you on Oregon going into Happy Valley, figuring that out amidst the whiteout. Once again, just calling out the fact that it's fuck Drew Aller down here, but also even more so, it's fuck James Franklin. Fun fact about James Franklin is that he is a single PJ Fleck firing away from being the most unlikable person in all of college football. So kudos to him. He can't even win that. For the totals, I got 4 plays. And this is where the muscle comes in, I guess. But I'm not going to give you any rhyme. I'm not going to give you any reason. I'm just asking you to trust. All right. First and foremost, we're going over to Denton, DFW, North Texas, Mean Green, hosting South Alabama. The Jags rolling in, and the spread of this one, the total of this one, 62.5. We're taking the over. All right. Trust. Utah, going to Morgantown. We've seen this story play out. I like the under in this one at 47.5. I think it's just not going to be a fun day to be a Ute once again, especially on the road. Ohio State and Washington. I know we got an ATS play on this one. I'm going to also take the over 52.5, I think, in order for Washington to cover that 8.5, knowing that Ohio State's going to give you at least 17, 24 minimum, and that's on a bad day. I think Washington's going to understand that, come out, and at least keep the game close. I see this being an overtime game, sneaky, in which Ohio State pulls it out. But if that's correct, the over should absolutely slap. And then to finish it all off, a team that slighted me by a half point last week. I'm going to be on the right side of history in week 5. We're taking Rice at Navy over 45.5. Happy to discuss, deliberate, debate with anybody, but I gotta wake up at 3:30 in the morning to catch a flight, and so I'm just happy to be here. I'm ready to watch some football, and I'm ready to see how we do after going 500 last week on 14 plays. Let's tighten that up a little bit. See if we can't get a little 6-4, 7-3 action here. I think that'd be a great week.
The totals have been just calling our names all year. They're just flashing green lights, which usually is when you get hit with a stop sign or maybe a speeding ticket. So we'll find out. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Continue to check out all the other content on the Pop Off Pod Network. There's a PTA movie drafts. I'm going to be going to Music Box to watch it. One of the best theaters in America, to watch it Friday night. Leonardo DiCaprio leads. It's going to be a banger. All the reviews are just outrageous. We got the Ryder Cup this weekend starting early, I think on Friday. Welcome to the Ryder Cup show. This isn't a Burning Edges podcast, but fuck it. We could just do another 50 minutes. And then we got as well, we got our gear on. The Cubs are winning 10-2 right now. We might have to be recording we'll see how recording looks next week. I'll probably be in Wrigley for games 1 and 2, barring a further disaster by the Cubs, but they look like they're having fun, ending a 5-game skid and getting back on track to host the wild card next week against the Padres. So let's go Cubbies as well. Chisholm, any parting thoughts? And then go ahead and wrap it up, big dog.
Yeah, take it easy on the Tylenol, especially if you're pregnant. Go Team USA. Shout out to the boys. Go Sox. Masataka Yoshida with a hell of a game tonight. First time, I think, in his career that I've been able to say that about him. Maybe one other time, but fuck him. We pay him way too much money. Roman Anthony, I hope you're getting well. Steven Angeli, I hope you're getting well. Pulling for USA. Obviously, I'm an American more than anything, but I hope Rory plays well, and I hope he has fun, and I hope Poppy is able to have fun too, whether she's back home or she's attending in New York. And last but certainly not least, go ahead and just shoot a little message, phone call, text. I don't really care. Send them a LinkedIn DM if that's your butter, your bread and butter.
Never too early for Movember to check on a friend.
It's not. And we'll have plenty more coming on that throughout the month of October in preparation for Movember. So maybe go ahead and let your bookie know that right before you tell them that we say hi. Go get them.
We're coming harder.